Good morning, mathematicians. Today we are working on graphing quadratics. Now remember, this is when we looked at Mario's jump. Remember, we were looking for the roots because he started and then it told us where he was jumping and where he would land. So part of our graphing quadratics is to find all the features that we need to be able to sketch his jump. So the first thing that we need to do is find the axis of symmetry. Now remember, the axis of symmetry is a line. It is a line. It tells us where on the graph to put the center of our parabola. Now, I'm going to give you the steps here. You can follow along. We are going to look at a quadratic equation that has a positive parabola. In other words, a is greater than 0. And we're going to look at one where our parabola is negative. It is upside down like a frown. It looks like this. It's when our a is less than 0. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we begin to sketch. Okay, to find our axis of symmetry, the first thing that we need to do is identify the a, b, and c. What that means is, remember, our quadratic equation, and you can say it with me, is ax squared plus bx plus c. So as I go to work my equations for all of my quadratics, I need to identify each of these values. So a, notice that a is the number in front of the x squared. I don't actually have a number there, so that means it's a 1. So I can put here that a equals 1. The second one I'm looking for is the b. And remember, the b is in front of the x, and I actually should have circled in the sign because you do need to carry the sign. So I'm going to look for my b up here. It is the number in front of just the x to the first power. And notice that it is a positive 8. So b equals 8. Then I need to find my c. Now we aren't going to use the c much today, but we need to know how to identify it. So our c is the positive c here. This one, notice it's a positive 15. So c equals 15. So now that we have identified those, what do we do? Well, the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. Now, this is really important to remember because it helps us to find our x value. We're looking for the x value, and let's go ahead and plug it in here. So x equals negative b. So I have to put the negative there. Then I substitute my 8 in. Always use parentheses to help keep the signs positive or negative. Notice that this 8 is positive, so it is a positive number. Once it comes out of parentheses, though, it becomes a negative 8. Now, 2 times a, well, what is a? Remember, this is where we're taking out the a and we're putting in our value, which is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, as mathematicians, we do like to simplify. Even though this is an answer, we do actually need to do this division problem. This is negative 8 divided by 2. So that gives me a negative 4. So in this case, x is negative 4. I can write it as an equation, and then I can also begin to sketch it. So notice that I'm going to draw my coordinate plane. Negative 4, x is negative 4, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So here is negative 4, and I'm going to sketch in my line. That is my axis of symmetry. Now I know that my parabola will be divided exactly by this line. We'll come back and place our vertex in the next video. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 gives me y equals negative x squared minus 6x minus 5. Now I did purposely put in a lot of negatives so that you see what to do with them. Okay, let's identify our a first. Notice our a here. Our a is negative. A is negative 1. Then let's look at our b. Our b is a negative 6. And then if we take a look at our c is a negative 5. So we have to make sure that we're using parentheses today so that we keep all of this straight. X equals, I'm going to write it here, negative b over 2a. Now remember, this is a negative. When I put b in, notice that b is also negative. So now I have a -6. Then I have 2. And when I substitute my 2 in, make sure that you use parentheses because you are multiplying 2 times -5. It's not 2 minus 5. Now, messy, let's simplify. A -6. Remember, we're taking away, this says take away a negative, so now we are positive. 2 times a -5 is 2 sets of -5, so I'm at -10. Okay. Now, I just realized I made a mistake. Can you guys see my mistake? Thank goodness I went back and checked. Guys, even I do this. Notice that my -5 is my C. That was silly. I don't know why I did that. You know, sometimes our brains do something silly. So I'm going to go back and catch that. Okay, notice that A is -1. There we go. 2 times -1 is a -2. That makes more sense. Now, this still is kind of messy, so I'm going to figure it out. 6 divided by -2 is a -3. So there's my equation, that's step 3. And now I'm going to sketch it. There's my coordinate plane. -3 would be 1, 2, 3. And I can go ahead and sketch in my line. Okay, if I were you, I would go practice a few of the axis of symmetry on the back side. Then come back for the next video that teaches you how to find the vertex.